What's going on, everybody? Dr. Vasquez here, coming to you live. Today is Sunday, June the 28th. Hope you're all doing well. Don't bother getting dressed for me if you're kind of relaxing and enjoying your Sunday morning. It's only a video. I can't see you, even though you can see me. Right now, we're going to talk about this new article from our friends at the Journal of the American Medical Association. You know that anytime they talk about dietary supplements, it's going to be a bunch of bullshit. So I was at first planning to do kind of a long form review of this article, but at the same time I knew that it didn't warrant it because you know and I know that anytime the American Medical Association talks about nutrition, it's just going to be bullshit. It's just going to be propaganda. Now, in order to have a vehicle for that bullshit and propaganda, they have to say something, and so we're going to look at what they said, and I'll point out to you the propaganda points, which for me are pretty obvious because, as you all know, I've been at this game for a long time. You know, I've been reading research for 35 years, something like that. So, because I have a lot of experience looking at research and because I've seen things from a lot of different angles, you know, obviously I studied chiropractic in my early 20s, and I even started publishing research in my 20s. Then I went to naturopathic medical school. Then I practiced for many years, and then eventually I went to osteopathic medical school. And so, you know, I can analyze things from many different perspectives and see the good and the bad in all of those. It's not like I'm just trying to be critical of things. I'm trying to see them for what they are. And when they happen to be bullshit and propaganda, then I call it out as such. And I think that has value, in my opinion. I think that as an activity has value for me, and it has value, I believe, for everybody. As I've said in other conversations, every once in a while, I don't say this all the time, but I'm about to say it again right now. Anytime we gain clarity on anything, it helps us have clarity on other things. So, a supposed philosopher actually wrote a book on that topic. Actually, 2 books have been written on that topic. And I didn't enjoy either one of those books, which is why I don't remember the authors or the names of the books. But I'll look it up. I've got them somewhere, and I'll post it when I edit the video, so you can see what I'm talking about. But one of the books, the earlier of the 2 books, talks about how expansions and expansion in human knowledge has kind of a synergistic effect in helping us understand other things. You know, so advances in mathematics led to advances in architecture, and advances in architecture eventually got translated into advances in engineering, and that gave us engines and motors and rockets and technology. So, you know, that's kind of an example of a linear progression, because obviously, you know, that started with some mathematical awareness of things, even if it's just conceptual. People had to begin to understand, you know, concepts like gravity and force and resistance and tension and compression and things like that, and then they could build buildings. It doesn't mean they had to study, you know, formally those things, but either formally and or through intuition, people gained understanding of basic things, and then that led to more advanced understanding to where we are now, where we can understand things, you know, down to the molecular and atomic level. So again, as I was saying, these exercises in critique aren't simply limited to this particular article or this particular topic. Again, as we gain clarity in any topic, that helps us think more clearly and then have clarity in other topics. So that's one of the ways you can look at this. I mean, you can think of it, oh, well, he's just going to blab on for a few minutes about this article. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But within the context of that blab is, you know, some clarity and some insight and, you know, things that you may actually be able to use and understand and apply in your own life. I don't see that this article is really rich in clinical applications, but it's not designed to be. This is a data piece, and secondarily, or maybe even primarily, this article is about data and then propaganda. So it's not about clinical implementation and therapy and advancement and all that. That's not the purpose of this article. So we can't really critique them for that. Now, I am going to critique them for certain things, but it won't be that. So this article, as you can tell, sorry, I'm getting a notice that I have to get off my screen. This article is written by whoever these people are, PhD, PhD, doctor, PhD, PharmD, science doctorate, MD science doctorate, whatever. So, okay, so they've got their academic credentials. Again, as you can see from the title, I'll start going through it now. Emerging patterns in dietary supplement use among U.S. adults. So they're looking at 25-year trends here. They use a government survey, which I interpret that as being a bit biased, and maybe it is or maybe it isn't. Sorry if my shirt is a little wrinkled there. But this is a survey done by the United States government, and the United States government is clearly in bed with one of its best friends, which is the pharmaceutical industry. So, and I hadn't thought of it this way until right now, but what is the purpose of, well, in the United States anyway, I guess most governments are this way, but, you know, the idea that we want, I guess this is actually pretty good. I never thought of this until right now, which is why I'm kind of stumbling to get there, but here it comes. The supposed purpose of a government is to protect you and help advance society and advance, you know, the lives and the experience of the people in that country. So supposedly, you know, the purpose of a government is organization, protection, advancement, doing things collectively that we couldn't do on our own. Even though at the same time, you know, certain parts of society want to demonize everything collective because they're just trying to protect their own interests. But anyway, that's why, you know, concepts like public good and socialism are so demonized in the United States. But anyway, theoretically, the purpose of government is to organize, protect, and advance the world, the society, the world within that sphere. But what do governments really do? They just want control and money, basically, and power and all that kind of stuff. And the same thing could be said, I believe, of the medical profession. You know, what's the theoretical goal of the medical profession? You know, science, advancement, beneficence, and, you know, taking care of sick and injured people. But what's the real goal of, especially the American medical profession? It's mostly control and profit. And you see that in their language all the time. And it's actually beautifully demonstrated in this article. So usually when the American Medical Association is going to talk about nutrition, the first thing they say is it's a multi-million-dollar or a multi-billion-dollar market. Well, does that really need to be the first sentence out of the gate? I mean, they're obviously playing their hand when they do that. So you'll notice that the medical profession can't stand to talk about nutrition as if it were a legitimate science, because these people have no training in this, but they want to assume they understand it. And so they use a technique, which is a logical fallacy, called refutation by denigration. They just insult the entire science of human nutrition because they don't have any training in it. They don't understand it. And so they just say, oh, well, it's a multi-million-dollar market and it's all driven by advertising. And now the social media influencers are pushing products that don't have any science and all this kind of stuff. So it's all about them trying to protect their market. If this were a truly legit scientific article, they would talk about the science. But they only nitpick the science in order to say, oh, well, this is dangerous. Oh, this has a potential risk. And they use it, as you would expect. And they did it in this article. And this is common. But they cherry pick, they kind of reverse cherry pick. I don't know what that would be called. I mean, the larger term for it is muckraking, but in this case, they're kind of going back 30 years to find a bogus study that showed some risk of a nutritional supplement. And they're saying, look, all nutritional supplements are dangerous, when they're using research that's been debunked for 30 years. Because like one of the studies they use in this article to supposedly demonstrate the risk of nutrition is more than 30 years old. It's 32 years old. And when I was studying naturopathic medicine at Bastyr University under Alan Gaby, who was our nutrition teacher, even then we were debunking that research 30 years ago. And yet here we are in 2026, supposedly, and the American Medical Association is going back 30-something years, 32 years, to pull out of the history books an old article that was debunked 30 years ago. And that's what they're saying is evidence for what they're talking about now. It's just totally stupid. But again, for most people, which obviously means most of you, if you don't know the history, because you haven't been in this for 30-something years like I have, if you don't know that, then you could look at an article like this and say, oh yeah, well, whatever. So anyway, as I started to say, this data is based on a government survey, but we know that the American government is in bed with the drug industry. So basically what they show here, and they state it here, you can read it. You can always pause the video, and I'll put the article online so you can actually see it for yourself. I mean, they don't really show that much. I'm going to tell you the three things that they show here. People are using less multivitamin, multimineral supplementation, which is kind of like foundational basic nutrition. People are using fewer multivitamin, multimineral supplements, and they're using more specialized supplements, like something for their skin or something for their gut or something for their joints or something for immune function. So, reduce use of multivitamin, multimineral, that's what they show here. Increase use of specialty products. Well, that's okay. I mean, that's reasonable for the science. However, from a clinical standpoint, it shouldn't be one or the other. It shouldn't be, hey, I'm going to take a multivitamin or I'm going to take a specialty product. Like I've been saying now for 22 years, the first time I published my nutrition protocol, which is the supplemented Paleo-Mediterranean diet, 5-part supplemented Paleo-Mediterranean diet. One of the parts of that 5 parts is a multivitamin, multimineral supplement, because you have to meet basic biochemical needs and then take specialty products on top of that. You can't substitute one for the other. You have to meet basic nutritional needs and then take your specialty products. You don't take a product for X while you're deficient in the rest of these things over here. And as we know now, most people are deficient in something or another, and so they benefit from taking a multivitamin. You know, when I was writing some major review articles back in 2004, so this was 22 years ago, some of these ideas were even still new at that time, and I remember struggling, so to speak, with some of these paradoxical findings that I think today, by now, should be pretty obvious. You know, so for example, what we used to think, and this is really old school, but you'll probably find some doctors who still think this way. We used to think that if somebody was obese, then they couldn't be malnourished because obviously they're overnourished because they're overweight. But I think now, you know, by now, nobody would agree with that, right? I mean, people, in fact, the opposite we know now is true. If you look at people who are obese and diabetic, they usually, even though they're obese and appear to be overnourished, so to speak, it's overnourished by fat and calories, not by micronutrients. So, you know, people become obese for a lot of different reasons. But somewhere in there is a energy imbalance, right? They're taking in more than they're using. And, you know, I know that that's not as obvious now as it used to be because we're aware of other factors, but it doesn't change the fact that if you want to make somebody obese, make them sedentary and give them more fat and carbohydrates than they can burn off, and they're going to gain weight. So again, even though the caloric mathematical perception of obesity, even though we understand other things about it, we know it's not everything. It's still true. I mean, if you want to gain weight, eat more than you burn off. If you want to lose weight, burn off more than you consume. So, but anyway, we do know that obese and diabetic patients now have multiple nutritional deficiencies: potassium, chromium, magnesium, and B12 as a minimum. But that's because a lot of people take a drug called metformin, which causes B12 malabsorption. So anyway, I'm kind of bouncing around, but that's what I do. If all you want is the article, you can read it yourself. If you want a commentary, then that's what I'm here for. So let's go through this again. Again, I took a short tangent, but an appropriate tangent to say that what this article shows is less multivitamin use, which is a mistake by the population. People need and or benefit from taking a multivitamin. So that should be foundational. Then on top of that, what this article shows is that people are taking more specialty products. Fine. As the science advances, you would expect nutritional science to advance as well. Some of that's going to get translated into products. You would expect that. That's totally normal. But it shouldn't be one or the other. You need to have the foundation and then build on top of that. And the third thing that they showed here is specifically an increase in product use among older people, 65 years and older, increased by 16%. That's a pretty good jump within this time frame. So what they say here is diversification beyond multivitamin, multimineral supplements toward products marketed for immune. Remember, I wrote a book in 2014 called Antiviral Nutrition, and that was banned at the start of the pandemic because the globalists obviously took control of the narrative. Anti-inflammatory, gut, skin, and joint health. Fine, totally reasonable. Substantial increase in older adults above 65 years of age. So at this point, so that's all reasonably normal, but you would expect, now that we're getting into the article, you would expect the propaganda faucet to get turned on, and that's why you see red lines and comments here. So yeah, remember what I said earlier? If this were truly a scientific article, or one that wanted to stay specific and on target with the topic, they would start talking about science, right? I mean, we are talking about biochemistry and pharmacology of nutrients. We could at least stay on that topic. Oh, hell no. They show their hand and they reveal their intention and they reveal their concern because the first thing they do is start talking about money, right? Dietary supplement use among adults is widespread and continues to grow worldwide, and it should. So I'll finish their sentence and I'll correct their sentences for them. Dietary supplement use among adults is widespread and continues to grow worldwide, as it should, because we now appreciate that most people have nutritional deficiencies, and when they have deficiencies, by definition, their normal human physiology doesn't work like it should, and so they're trying to improve and maintain their health based on the advancing nutritional science. Totally reasonable. I did a good job of spontaneously correcting their sentence. And now here they play their hand. Globally, the dietary supplement market was valued at nearly $200 billion in the US in 2024 and is projected to double by 2033, assuming that we actually survive that long. So $200 billion for 1 year, I mean, that's a lot of money, right? I mean, that's what Trump just spent in Iran, for nothing, basically. No, I'm sorry, that's not, we actually spent more than that. So it was 100 billion, then another 24 billion credit, and then 300 billion, but we're still in the hundreds of billions. I mean, that's a lot of money. In the U.S., the most common reason for supplement use is to improve or maintain overall health. Perfect, totally reasonable, rather than to address nutrient deficiencies. So let's see. So that was stupid for one thing. So like I said before, when I go through these things, I'm trying to show you my analysis of it, but I'm also trying to share my analysis so you can apply that level of analysis to other things in your life that may benefit you. So that was stupid. So if you don't see why it's stupid, then you can pause the video and read that last sentence again. I didn't think about it until right now, but you should see that as stupid. So I'm going to help you see it as stupid. The most common reason for supplement use is to improve or maintain overall health on this side. You're improving or maintaining your health over here, rather than address nutrient deficiencies. Do you see how that's stupid? They're saying that it's one or the other, and they can't understand that you're doing both at the same time, or all three. You're improving your health, you're maintaining your health, and you're doing that by addressing nutritional deficiencies. So, some of the stupidity in this you would expect to be overt and obvious, but some of the stupidity in this you would expect to be very subtle, because an article like this is only going to be written by people who are fully indoctrinated into the paradigm. That's why they have these jobs to begin with. That's why they get selected by the government to analyze this data. That's why they get to work in medical schools. This is peak propaganda here, but it doesn't mean that they understand that it's propaganda. These people are swimming in the drug world, in the medical world, where every conversation is pro-drug and anti-nutrient. So that's like the matrix that these people live in. So you would expect some of their stupid statements to be really obvious, and then others to be more subtle, and that was an example of kind of subtle stupidity. I'll read it again, because it's still stupid. The most common reason for supplement use is to improve or maintain overall health, rather than to address nutrient deficiencies. No, it's not one or the other. It's one via, it's the goal via the method. So it's just subtle, but here's another good one. Yet only approximately 1 in 4 products is used under the guidance of a healthcare professional. That's also very stupid. And why is that stupid? Medical doctors, in the United States, for example, MDs and DOs, of which I am one, have no training in nutrition whatsoever. It doesn't happen in medical school. It doesn't happen in family medicine residency. It just does not happen. And in fact, my friend, one of my best friends from medical school, I believe last year, sent me a screenshot because he was studying for his family medicine boards. And it's not simply lack of education in nutrition, it's anti-information in nutrition. So he sent me a screenshot of his board review materials, I believe from the American Board of Family Physicians. And it was just propaganda. He had to agree with misinformation about vitamin D in order to get the answer correct. So this is stupid. Only approximately 1 in 4 products is used under the guidance of a healthcare professional. The medical profession notoriously has no education whatsoever in nutrition. And then they're saying, well, this is a lament. They're trying to present data with the implication that it's a problem. So I'll complete their sentence for them. Only approximately 1 in 4 products is used under the guidance of a healthcare professional, and that is the fault of the medical profession for not training its doctors in nutrition. And then obviously patients are going to go to a medical doctor for nutrition advice when they consistently, and this is well documented, this is not a question, they have no training in nutrition, and the little bit of conversation they get in nutrition is usually anti-nutrition. So why would a reasonable patient go to a doctor for nutrition advice if they don't have any training in it? Oh, and here's another good one. Underscoring the highly individualized, that's kind of a weird thing to just throw in the middle of a sentence. I mean, it doesn't underscore that. And market-driven nature of this behavior. They love to say that. So what they're saying in that is that this is irrational, and you're simply responding to market pressure. You're simply responding to advertising. They absolutely refuse to acknowledge that this is a scientific event or perspective or advancement or whatever. They refuse to acknowledge the science of this. They say, oh, it's just market-driven behavior. Market-driven behavior. And saying, oh, but but remember now, this is the same organization, the same profession, the same people who pushed the COVID vaccine while anything else was being censored, right? Nutrition was being censored. These are the people telling you have to get triple vaxxed and double masked for the rest of your life. But then when they talk about nutrition, oh, well, that's just market pressure. So you can see that's why, I have a love-hate relationship with articles like this, especially from the American Medical Association, because I know it's just going to be stupid. Let's see what I said here. The medical propaganda and drug sales machine shows their intention when they initiate every conversation about nutrition talking about money. Talking about the money being earned by their competitors. This isn't about science. This is about being jealous of a market that's outside of their knowledge and outside of their control. And it's a completely different paradigm. So I want to make sure that I differentiate the drug paradigm from the nutrition paradigm. If you don't already know it, I'll explain it to you towards the end of today's video. So this was